And then you simply have to observe what your choices have manifested on the outside. So you talk about manifestation. I haven't seen people just, right? They usually come around a corner, but they don't just pop up in your living room. You know what I'm saying, right? So usually, let's say you want to attract your wife, which you feel is there, into your life, right? Let's say your wife is simply spirit, a reflection of you, in a sense, right? It's like a spiritual being, just like yourself, and you're trying to attract her into your life. You have to ask yourself what she wants. Well, she may want you, but how does she know that? If you're constantly letting off steam, right? If you're like, if your energy is flowing into destructive behaviors, such as masturbation, such as, I don't know what, right? I mean, your spirit has to really shine. Like, it has to be like the sun to attract the moon. And the moon is like the woman. And the man is like the sun.
Okay, is this where I wanted to start this journey? Okay, I just have to remember that I'm kind of like the centerpiece of this thing. And that, yes, this is 3 times 10, man. But before you're asking yourself why you're watching this, right, I'm gonna answer it for you. Because you've been struggling. People have been making fun of you. Right, maybe you feel angry, you feel misunderstood, you feel like you would like to, right? Like life's a pile of shit. Right, and the flies are buzzing. Well, what I can tell you is what happens on the outside is a reflection of yourself. I mean, it is possible that you're the creator. I mean, please get that. Not everyone is a creator. Not in that sense. Right? If everyone was Thor, then who would fight with him? Right? He's the one that gives strength to others. The ones that fight with him and imposes fear, right, into the hearts of his enemies. So there's always a cause. There's always 3 times 10 is 30, by the way. Right? It's like, oh, what's that supposed to mean? Well, 3 times 10, you know, it's 30. And sometimes you have like 3 major sections of something before it adds up to one entire thing. 30 was also the time when I started to kind of become more and more conscious of what has been happening to me. But in the beginning, it was all very physical, and it started to become more and more spiritual. And so I have been struggling ever since to bring those 2 sides together. And of course, 3 times 10 is also 3. And that's what we call the Trinity, which is then saying, you know, it's the spiritual, it's the worldly, and then it's the observer, which some people say, you know, it's like the Holy Spirit. What the church does is completely distorted, you know, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Complete bullshit. Because where's the daughter in this? No, you cannot just reduce it to in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It should be then, you know, if you would split it, you know, so it should then be, I kind of feel like walking there, but there's a fence. But I can also go up there, just take a different route. I don't know, I'm just trying to see my way, my path through to wherever I'd like to be today. So, if it should be then in the name of the Mother, the Father, and then the Holy Spirit, which connects both. So, as we all should know, but it's very hard because now I'm a man, I'm like the masculine principle of creation, which is like the seed, right? The seed that impregnates. And then the woman is like the trough, right? The grail, the womb in which it all flows. And sometimes these two have to work together, right? To create life. But depending on who this is, this journey may look very different. Which means to say that, you know, we all face our own challenges, right? You know, I don't have to face the challenges of anyone who came before me. I may face similar challenges, but my choices are my own. Which of course connects us to good choice, bad choice, observer, right? Good choice, bad choice is trying to judge it, trying to split it. You're trying to live in kind of the observer, which means that in a sense, yes, you're observing, but you're still feeling everything. Like, I cannot tell you exactly why I was so heavy, because I'm actually stronger than I have been in a while. And if you manage to reduce sugar, and if you manage to reduce, let's say, maybe masturbation to a bare minimum, and you can really hold the pressure, which I've been doing now again, right? I had a little like nervous breakdown. Now I've been building up again. And the pressure is just driving you insane. It's like... But so you just have to stop being so selfish. So you just start holding it in. It's a bit like not peeing. Only instead of, you know, when you have to pee, then it's usually a bit different. Which is, peeing is a bit like, right? I mean, that's like kind of like water that has to go out. We all get that. You drank something. But what we're talking about if you stop masturbating is, wow, is just energy. Of course you can say, yeah, but water is energy. Yeah, smart ass. I know that. But it's different. You know, it's different because let's say you can use water to cleanse yourself by drinking it, and you can flush out your dirty laundry, your dirty emotions, which is why fasting is such a beautiful way, right, in a certain way, to flush out heavy stuff, which is something I am trying to get back to for years. But if I wouldn't have eaten those 2 little cakes like that I had from my sister, I probably wouldn't have left the house at all. I was so heavy I couldn't get up. You know, I felt like something was draining the energy. So, you know, if you pee, if you drink a lot of water and then you have to pee, it's very hard to transcend that and to say, I'm just gonna transcend this into art and not pee, because you took it in as water. But let's say energy is just flooding into you without having to do anything but just not masturbate. What's gonna happen? Well, I have explained this already. You imagine yourself as like a dummy thing, and without spirit, this dummy is empty. You know, that's when, in the end, when all your spirit is wasted on sitting around watching porn and Netflix and eating cake and, you know, gossiping about your neighbors in old people's home and getting stuffed cake into your face, right? And then shitting into diapers because you cannot walk anymore. You know, that's like extraction. Your spirit's being extracted, you know, turned into money, because people do something that you actually should be doing yourself. You know, you should be in charge of your own life, but you gave in to the extraction because you've been kept in a state of numbness and like blindness. And although you are aware of these things, you're afraid to openly speak about them which is in a sense ridiculous because you should be allowed to speak about them. But every time you start speaking about them, everybody tries to shush you like, no, you cannot talk about this. You know, it's forbidden. Well, what's gonna happen? Well, they'll nail you to a cross, my friend. If you're stupid. When you're smart, you're just gonna continue living. But you also have to continue giving. Maybe Jesus just tried to wiggle out. It's like, it's too much, I cannot take this. We'll nail you to the cross and then you'll give us what you have till the end of your days. Yeah, and they all forgot that there's also a little child in Jesus, which is now creating a lot of problems for them. Which is in a sense me, yeah? Because what Christ is also like a child. And you just gotta take care of that. So it's not Jesus Christ, you know, the Savior. You know, it's just Jesus the guy as Christ, or Christ as Jesus. Right, it's just spirit. You know, enough spirit in the guy Jesus, because he did certain things to free himself of certain concepts. And then he broke through to something, and then he tried to bring it to the people. And it's just the way it has always been. You know, most people think they have already the Messiah. Ah, it's Jesus Christ. Yeah, but where is he, you know? Ah, yeah, you nailed him to the cross, good choice. You know? And now you're living in ignorance again. Because the candle that you had, you just nailed him to the cross and you thought that was a good idea. Oh yeah, he'll just heal himself instantly. No, let's test it. You know, spear him. It's not enough to nail him to the cross, he's still alive. Spear him. How can this be? Right, and there's probably women, like who was Hildegard von Bingen? How you would probably say it, Hildegard von Bingen, because you cannot pronounce German properly, which you should try, right? Like if you use German words, at least try to pronounce them properly and not how you think they should sound. And that's like making an effort. Like I'm making an effort to at least sound like you cannot tell where I'm from. But what's the matter? I mean, what's Germany? It's a concept. It's just something. They put a name on, they labeled it for control. So am I not allowed to speak about this? Because it's so obvious. That's like the first level of what you can see. I mean, actually that's probably the leaf. But it's simply there. It's as obvious as the Lord of the Rings, right? Exactly that today. And it is the same thing that he expressed and that have many have expressed it in their own ways. Like 1984 talks about things. Dune talks about things. There's a lot of stuff about consciousness in Dune. You know, I cannot read for the love of it. I'm trying to, but I cannot read like super smart stuff where people act like they understood something and then they're trying to explain that. So I just read Dune. I read the things that have like a story, because that's actual craftsmanship. I don't like psychology books because these people are usually really stupid. They're just stuck at home. They don't do anything, you know? You could go hiking and then have an insight and then try to bring that into a story, and that's real creation to me. I mean, I have been trying to read Alfred Adler, but that to me doesn't really make any sense. I mean, Alfred Adler to me doesn't really make any sense. Because while he is saying certain things, what I perceive is he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just tried to appear smart. So if he really would have understood what he was talking about, right, he wouldn't have written the book that he wrote, right? He would have done something else with this. He would have applied it in his own life. But apparently he didn't do that. So what did he really understood? Nothing. Right? If he really would have understood something, he would have talked about it. If Einstein would have really understood what he was trying to express, right, with his bullshit. But he never went that far, right? Because he was just a sucker for psychedelics, and you can bet on it that he just took LSD. But he never, because if you look at him, his body was weak. His hair was staying on end, right? He had no self-control. He was easily giving into greed. He had no idea about transmutation or transformation or how to transcend. He was just easy to manipulate. Right, if he would have been a tough guy, he would have spent a lot of time in nature. He would have gone hiking, right? He would have taken responsibility for his visions. But he never did that, or did he now? He contributed to war. He contributed, just like Oppenheimer. So what's 3 times 10? It's time, people. Wakey, wakey. You have to wake up, my friend. So Oppenheimer was in that sense weak. Why? Well, I say, why did he go riding on a horse? You see what I'm saying, right? If you're weak, you sit on a horse. When you're strong, you hike yourself. It's much harder to hike yourself than to sit on a horse and just let everything fly past you. That's just my perspective. So he clearly wasn't able to do anything out of his own strength, which is why he needed this incredibly big team, right? He needed all these people. And he wasn't even strong enough to hold on to the woman that, according to the movie, which I assume has some kind of truth in it, like not the Days of Trinity, which is a documentary. I mean, not that movie. You remember that one? Stinging nettles, right? Oh, if I don't get into nature, I just get drained. If I eat, I don't talk. Okay. I know. I'm just doing my thing, right? 3 times 10. Okay, Oppenheimer was weak, yeah. Because if he would have been strong, he would have hiked himself. Apparently he didn't know how to cook, right? If you are a balanced man, then you know how to cook. Okay, I need to go slacklining, but I'm going to do it in nature this time. So I have to find a way to lure myself out of the house and do the things that I actually want to do. And I'm still stuck on that. Right, I'm still stuck on... Oh wow, there's a bird of prey. Yeah, I don't think you can see that anyway. Better look at me, because I'm a bird of prey as well, my friend. Just sometimes I don't know what I'm seeing. Well, usually they just stay away, right? Maybe I can zoom in the video. Okay, let's dive in. So what we're trying to speak about here is simply life. 3 times 10, I'm whispering into your ear the truth that you have forgotten. And I'm doing so, in a sense, by risking my own life. I have been tried in many ways. And in your own life, you may find that you feel some sort of connection to maybe Aragorn, right? So I do not believe for a single second, I'm not sure about that, if elves would really be some kind of vegetarian. I mean, if you look at the Hobbit movies, it's ridiculous. I mean, how it's been shown that they just eat salad. I mean, that's preposterous. I mean, elves were tough guys. And they're always being portrayed as, sometimes a bit like weaklings. But that's actually not the truth. I'm not sure what exactly we are, and if you can say that we are different, but I certainly see differences. I mean, if you look at just the outer shell, the fleshy part, okay, it kind of looks all the same. But if you start looking at with your spiritual eye and then bring it together, what you see is that there's always something on the other side, and that I often do not know who I'm actually dealing with, which is why, you know, I'm always also a little bit cautious, right? I do wander around, I like nature, but I also leave trouble behind, right? Sometimes I give people unwanted advice, sometimes they kind of ask for it. I mean, if we attract each other, then there's probably something that needs to be done or said, or maybe, right, it's just a spark. Oh, there's someone walking barefoot, filming himself. Who is that? And then he's talking English, which here is a really uncommon form of communication, and so is being truthful, right? If you just flash people their own anger, they think you're angry. You know what I'm saying, right? But usually they try to do that with you. They try to impose their own emotions onto you so they can feel better about themselves. Now, what am I trying to say here? I mean, what is the purpose of this channel? It's simply to bring you an experience that you should try looking for yourself. Because if you watch this, then you're probably at home, or you're somewhere outside, you know, or maybe you're at some kind of place and somebody just showed this to you and said, here, look at that guy, maybe you are interested. You know, I don't know how these things work, but it could be in such a way. So what you're doing here is you are looking for guidance, and I'm telling you to go hiking, and you're like, how does that help anyone? Well, I'm telling you not to go hiking without a purpose. I mean, you ask yourself what you want in your life. You need something to project yourself onto other than all these people that try to draw you away from yourself. Because if you have the problem, like the feeling that something is going against how you feel like it should be, then what I can safely say to you that I have been in the same position, and what I had to do is I had to start looking at my life. I started to going for barefoot hikes, and then I stopped feeling like I want to do this with others, right? I just want to do it alone. And if somebody would join me, it would probably be my wife, or occasionally people that need some kind of a challenge, right? Like, I don't know who, you know, that still has to develop. But the way I'm seeing it is, I mean, we're not meant to be alone all the time. I get that. If I'm just alone all the time, then I feel terrible. And then I have nobody to torment but myself. And then everyone gets angry at me because they never see me, but I'm so nice because I did all my cleansing, right? And I've got all that energy. But I always try to tell them, well, if you wanted all that energy, you could just go hiking, right? You could just take off your shoes and go hiking. You know, why do I have to carry this energy to you? Well, because apparently there is more to it than just taking off your shoes and going hiking. Because if that was the only thing, then everyone would do it. You know, apparently for Wim Hof it was incredibly easy to start with his ice baths, or at least he never showed the other side, right? I don't believe for a second that he always felt 100% comfortable with going into the ice. I'm sure that he felt a lot of fear and anxiety, and that what he learned was to just breathe through it. And what he says then, saturating yourself with oxygen, that's just the materialist's bubble. That's just trying to say it in a way that people understand it. And then, you know, helping them to follow you into the direction you're going. But it's not about, you know, it's more like saturating yourself with spirit, because what you do with these breathing exercises is you take in lots of energy. That's what it is. It's spirit, right? You breathe and you store energy in your body, kind of. And then with that energy, you have like a shield against the cold. You know, I assume, right? Because I feel like that the way he is trying to express it to me, as a being of higher mind, you know, there are beings like this. Like Wim Hof is clearly not a being of higher mind. He just realized something and just did it. But the way I feel about it, he could have never expressed it in any other way than just doing it. Now my mind is drawn to trying to communicate what is happening on the spiritual side. And why that is so, I cannot say. But I simply like to travel along these, right, transacts of consciousness that always bring about a certain understanding, but unless you put it to action, are completely meaningless. So this is now really heavy, and yes, I feel like I would like to turn the camera onto me, but this is about you. You know, I'm already walking this path. You see me here? Those are my feet, right? This is my direction. I'm going to my parents to upload content, right? And to drink a coffee maybe, have a bit of chit chat and just give stability, right, to my family home. Because that's part of what you can do, but you do not take away other people's jobs. You figure out your purpose and you live that. Like I've had times where my father wanted me to help him paint the house because he decided to do it by himself because paying someone for it was too expensive. So he was doing it himself and he was trying to get me to help him. But I said, well, you're not helping me. I mean, you're providing the space. I'm helping you by staying alive because I could leave or kill myself. So if I want to stay alive, then I have to do my job, which is make art, produce content, and then keep going in such a way. Because if I stop, I'll die. I know that. My dreams and all ambitions are going to fade away. The woman that I thought I wanted is going to choose someone else. You know, that's just the horror scenario. And so, sure, you know, you can look at me doing planks. You can look at me walk through the forest. And you can think, oh, how nice would it be to be Christopher? Uh-huh. Have you just spent the last 2 hours with me? Where I was going through hell? Which is what I cannot show you? I mean, I film myself cleaning my apartment and you think, oh wow, how strong he is. Yeah, but on the other side of strong is weakness. And there's a very good image of a really like the fat shell. And then this really tough guy in the middle. It's like the kind of workout calisthenics kind of thing, you know, fighting off weakness, because obesity is weakness. You know, I could just sit at home and eat and eat and eat, but usually I eat and eat and eat until I have the strength to finally leave the house and go about my business. So I don't know what just happened. I felt like there was someone on the other side, which I believe to be the shadow of my wife, you know, which is incredibly crazy, but I feel like it's the shadow of my wife. And I felt like, you know, she just needed energy to survive. And if she can't get that from me, then she's gonna get it from someone else. Does it make sense? Well, I cannot say. Okay, now there's somebody coming. There's a dog. Do I still have... Oh yeah, I still have time. I'm just gonna wait a second. So 3 times 10 is, in a way, just nothing, right? So everything I say here is nothing, because in the end it's about feeling the truth, right? Of what is actually happening.
Hello.
Guten Tag. So it's about feeling the truth of what is actually happening, and then reacting to it in whatever way you find applicable. And then you simply have to observe what your choices have manifested on the outside. So you talk about manifestation. I haven't seen people just, right? They usually come around a corner, but they don't just pop up in your living room. You know what I'm saying, right? So usually, let's say you want to attract your wife, which you feel is there, into your life, right? Let's say your wife is simply spirit, a reflection of you, in a sense, right? It's like a spiritual being just like yourself, and you're trying to attract her into your life. You have to ask yourself what she wants. Well, she may want you, but how does she know that? If you're constantly letting off steam, right? If your energy is flowing into destructive behaviors, such as masturbation, such as I don't know what, right? I mean, your spirit has to really shine. Like, it has to be like the sun to attract the moon. And the moon is like the woman. And the man is like the sun. I mean, I really like the character in the 7 sins. The 7 deadly sins, the anime or manga. I stopped watching it because too many giant breasts. Too much room for potential conspiracies. I don't know, man. But what I liked was the friendship, and I liked the guy, you know, who was going with the sun, you know? When the sun was up, he was like a giant, this indestructible force. Bam, you know? Yeah, I mean, I really, you know, I got a bit of goosebumps there. But it's not real life. But these things do happen, but in a different kind of way. Like, not in the way that you would see the sun, right? But you can work magic, you know, that's a fact. You can work voodoo just by focus and attention. If you focus on hate, you know, then it's like destructive voodoo. But you can focus on creation, and then it's like creative voodoo. So you can also create melodramas for the people around you, right? Which is sometimes, you know, if mothers get bored, they'll start playing around with their children. And that's clearly something, you know, if you're sitting too long in madness and nobody can reach out to you and show you the light, right? So I started taking responsibility, because that's how I've been raised, right? I've been raised a bit into madness, you know? I acknowledge, you know, my parents were kind of mad. I kind of like it, but what I was missing was, you know, the galactic giggle. Because if you toy around with your children, they'll pick up on it at some point, and then you're gonna have a hard time. I mean, I gave my parents a hard time. in some ways, I'm much stronger. But I simply started to invest my strength into what I feel like. So you cannot say that simply, you know, your parents, you are your parents or you are your father, because that's something I just read in Dune, with which I completely disagreed. I don't know what 3 times 10 means, right? Could be a riddle, could be something to think about, you know. That's then your question. You know, if the 3 times 10 strikes you, start playing around with your mind. Yesterday I solved another Rubik's Cube. My neighbor, she had it propped up in her hallway, which I'm always passing to get to my apartment. And it's a really, you know, it's like bigger, has different colors. And it's probably like, it had like a logo of some kind of like a pharmacy on there. And I tried to solve it already before, and now I actually did. But it took me some time. I mean, it was a real, you know, if I solve my Rubik's Cube, where I'm used to the tiles, the colors, the shape, the size, everything, you know, I can solve it no problem. Now I solved my neighbor because she's on holiday, right? I don't know, she's maybe gonna come back in 2 days' time or something. I mean, on the physical plane, she said she's on holiday. I don't know where she goes, but, right, she says she's on holiday, whatever, right? Her spirit just kind of left. I really like filming like this, to be honest. Okay, so there's, you see this? This is berries. I'm gonna be harvesting sometime in October, September. Which is why this year is completely different for me. You know, I need to be less in thy face, right? I need to be less in thy face. Completely out of the way, out of proportion, out of, you know, getting towards less self-sabotage. You know, this is the message, the goal, right? You're trying to be left, what? You're trying to be less of what you think you would like to let go of. So it's not about to stop being self-destructive, you know, all the way. Yes, it is about it. But not right away. I mean, this will take time because you first have to see when you're self-destructive. Like sometimes I just don't eat and I just don't want to eat. And then I just stop eating. But then I get to these places in my life where I ask myself, why have I not eaten? And then I eat something and then suddenly I feel better. And that's usually the moment where I say, okay, just eat something. I don't get it, man. Okay, this is a really beautiful place, but I'm not going to do anything else but walk through this. Okay. Please be aware that I am aware of no venomous snakes here. Right? Like, to walk like this on a terrain like that takes a lot of training. Also mental. Because the fear may creep in at any moment of being stung by something. And please also be aware there may be other people here. There may be somebody. I'm just collecting places, but I'm also experiencing a lot of denial from myself, right? To give more than I have to. Okay, wow, this is going somewhere, I don't know where. I mean, how can you feel so tired and yet have the strongest body you've ever had? You know what I think this is? That I have to get used to this amount of energy. I have to get used to channeling this much. Clearly, this is something like that. That I have to clearly get used to channeling. I feel like this way. Right, so I just simply see it as a challenge to do this. Well, a couple of years ago I could have never walked like this, but now I can. So a couple of years ago I could have never stopped masturbating, but now I feel like I can. I feel like I even have to, because less energy is being wasted, right? Less energy is being wasted. I constantly see these challenges which I am afraid to give into, like this one. Now I could do a scorpion pose on there, but how? Because how am I going to kick off? I'm not sure that's possible. Now you think you want to go to your parents, and then you realize, okay, better take your time. Okay, 3 times 10, right? I mean, I just gave you some time away from yourself, inside your own home. If that wasn't enough, then what else am I to give you? I mean, you just have to start playing mind games. I gave you so many things that you could do now. Learn to solve the Rubik's Cube, download the instruction manual from the website, and just learn the algorithms and then just start doing it, right? You could figure out your diet, you could do a fast, you could do an elemental sulfur cleanse, you could do all kinds of things, but you sit here and watch this. You could learn to get into nature and dive into her and then look for the woman that is waiting at the end. So you have to make a choice. Stop screwing around. You're going to build yourself up for the woman that you want, and she's going to resist you. She's going to struggle against you until you're strong enough. And then she's probably going to test you a couple of times, right? Once you've chosen a woman, others will come and try to take her place, and you have, even in your mind. So you have to figure that out. And that's what, for me, 3 times 10 is. You know, I have to add things up. I have made the choices in the last couple of years I have made for that woman. If I would take another one now, then I would let the woman I chose fall, and my life would be just boring, just less of a challenge. I wanted a woman that's a challenge because I know I can take it, which is why I'm productive on several platforms at the same time, right? And when I'm done with YouTube for 2025, you know, I have a 900-page book or 800-page book project that I have to go through one more time, do the fine-tuning, and then I have other books to write. And then at some point, I'll have to start producing content on my podcast again, or so it seems, because this is now my business, and I simply have to continue, right? So be prepared for the long ride, but please do your exercises, because I'm doing them as well. This, for me, is training. I hope you see that this hike just trained me again, right? Talking while hiking trained me again. Everything I do trains me. I train my mind, I train myself, right? I do things that appear hard because I like the challenge. Okay, I'm not sure I can actually do this. But I could film it. You know, I could film it and then take the picture, right? Like take a screenshot. I don't actually think that's gonna work. As nice as challenges are, sometimes it's also a bit stupid to even try. So now I have to first position this. I'm just gonna test it. I don't think I will make it. Why? Because it's too... Okay, let's just see. 5% battery left. Yeah, I don't think that's possible. Okay, I do see that it's actually, it could be done. But sometimes I feel like it's a bit overkill. Holy fuck. Holy smokes. How you say things like, I'm on top of the world! Ahoo! 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 You know, this is how you blow your mind. You do something you thought you could never do. Ahoo! Kaya, boom! This is why I do these things on my own. But now I know I can do it. So I know the workout actually worked. Holy smokes. Nice. I mean, what's nice? Right? Struggling against what's nice. And then in these clothes. And I ripped nothing. Okay? Jump at the spot that you feel like. One. Wow. This again is feeling a bit insane. I just have to test this. What? What? This is like... Okay, it's not 2 meters. But just look at this. From that height? I mean, my body has abilities that you would say are... You know, that's what people don't even identify with anymore, right? So I'm afraid to test these abilities. Why? Because I have never been like this in a long time, probably. Or I cannot remember. Whew. Okay. Right? Have a nice day. Wait. Have a nice day. Yeah? Reconnecting with my animal nature was one of the most important things I have ever done in my entire life.